I think it's fair to say that when it comes to the second Sonic movie, most of the finer points of the movie itself have been well and truly reviewed and talked about to death at this stage. Wedding scene bad, Rachel so much screen time, dancing that overstays its welcome, not enough Sonic music, Blue Puppet's opinions. If you know, you know. If you don't, be happy you don't. And Ken Penders, the guy who puts green or evil in front of someone else's characters and saying that he owns them. The digital equivalent of licking things to claim them as your own, I guess. And he thinks he somehow owns the fact that Knuckles has a dad. I mean, really, Ken? It wasn't the Immaculate Conception, Ken. He's not Jesus the Echidna, Ken. I just can't with this guy anymore. So, I figured, instead of telling you guys the same things you've already heard a million times, why not stick to what I usually do? Read way too far into the characters, and analyze the characterizations of Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails in the movie. Sound good? Good. And if it doesn't, I'll just put green in front of your name and own you, so your opinion won't matter. Don't forget to drop a like on the video if you find yourself enjoying it, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. All those pesky YouTube metrics are super important for the channel, so a big thank you to everyone who watches and supports me. It's very much appreciated. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? The characters have always been a very special part of the Sonic series. For a lot of people, a big part of the reason they got into it in the first place. And with the last decade's worth of game offerings for these characters being lackluster at best, and an unmitigated bag of shit at worst, it was only natural that when the idea of a Sonic movie came around, people were justifiably worried about how their favorite blue prick-covered animal would be portrayed. But the 2020 movie came and went, and would you believe it, pretty much did the impossible, getting accepted into the fold by the Sonic fandom. Sonic was different, but for what it was, everything came together surprisingly well, and the unprecedented success it seen pretty much guaranteed a sequel. A sequel that not only would continue the character progression of the titular Hedgehog himself, but would also introduce two of the series' most significant characters at once. That's a whole lot of stuff for any story to balance. And honestly, this was my one big fear going in. See, I had some small issues with Sonic's character in the original movie. As a standalone thing, it's mostly fine, but I just felt he was a bit needy, and any confidence he showed seemed very surface level and not really believable. This can be pretty easily explained away by him being younger in this universe, but it was still a bit jarring when you compare it to what we're all used to in the game universe. And I just wasn't sure how this take on Sonic would mesh with the introduction of Tails and Knuckles. Two events in the series that are huge parts of my childhood I didn't want to see messed up. For me, Movie Sonic's biggest issue as a character was that he's still kinda growing into the character he is already when we're first introduced to him in the games universe. Even with effectively 3 games worth of content already used across 2 movies, Sonic is still only coming into his own as a confident hero with a knack for bringing people together. Early on in this movie, Sonic is showing obvious frustration with the mundane, everyday life of Green Hills, sneaking out at night to take on a Batman-type role, perching on rooftops and fighting crime, anything to scratch the somewhat self-indulgent hero itch he just can't shake, dealing with small-fry criminals, and really just causing more damage than he's preventing, just so he can show off and feel important. Tom tries his best as a father figure, even giving Sonic the Uncle Ben talk. But he's just too immature to take his lesson on board. For now, Sonic really only seems interested in having fun and doing whatever he wants. He literally can't wait to send Tom and Maddie to Rachel's wedding in Hawaii, just so he can destroy the house and party down with the mutt. The trailer doesn't even do this scene justice with just how much he fucks up this house. I honestly figured it owed him money or something. The nod to Ben Schwartz's Parks and Rec character warmed my heart though.
But I am not watching Snow Dogs again. That movie is the worst!
What did I tell you, huh?
The worst!
She's the worst in the world.
Best show ever, more of that please. Although, his character in that is perv as hell. So that would be interesting. But once Sonic meets Tails, that's when things begin to turn around for him. Just like in the games, at first, Sonic doesn't know what to make of Tails, but after saving his life, and than just being an all-out useful fur boy. He starts to realize just how awesome it is to have this little guy around, and we get to experience a rare somber moment for him as he watches Longclaw's message. Albeit cheapened by Wade asking if it was Tails' dad, but still, it's moments like this where we see Sonic isn't just an unrelenting optimism machine that makes his ability to hold everything together and move on all the more impressive. And it's this infectious attitude that rubs off on those around him, a true-to-character theme that gets built upon more and more as the movie progresses. With the first movie, I was worried Sonic wouldn't grow into the character I knew. But here, I'm starting to see that worry was misplaced. After a quick bonding session in Siberia, we'll come back to this as it's more relevant for Tails. Our two heroes find themselves in another fight with Knuckles and Eggman, this time over a compass that locates the Master Emerald. Sonic's banter with Eggman is generally pretty good throughout the movie. Far too many pop culture references that will inevitably date the movie, but on the whole, it does a decent job of showing how Sonic gets under Robotnik's skin. And this helps justify the near animalistic obsession he has with wanting to destroy Sonic at all costs. And it's in this scene where Sonic learns the lesson that Tom was trying to teach him at the beginning, as Tails gets hurt trying to help him, and Knuckles and Robotnik escape with the compass. Sonic has no choice now but to turn to Tom for help. And as his surrogate dad, Tom is ready to do whatever it takes, even smack his chiseled future brother-in-law. You know, for a police officer, this guy is all about assaulting people.
I like it a lot.
Sonic is now coming to understand that being a hero isn't just about taking care of himself, and since he was responsible for Tails, after insisting he come along, he failed in his duty to protect him. No longer concerned about fame or glory, he sets out on a solo mission to stop Robotnik before he hurts anyone else. And after an epic showdown with Knuckles, which was awesome by the way, because it successfully made both characters look strong, Robotnik finally betrays Knuckles and makes his play for the Master Emerald, leaving him emotionally lost and suffering a crisis of purpose. But good lad that he is, not content with just saving him from drowning, Sonic steps in to lift him out of his slump, recruiting him to take Robotnik down with him and Tails. We'll get into this segment in more depth in Knuckles' section, but you can really see Sonic starting to become the born leader we all know and love. The guy who can bring everyone together, just like when he was at his best in the games. And the whole end battle scene, I just had blasting in my head at full volume the whole time. Loved it so much. The dynamic between my three boys was perfect. And as well as seeing Knuckles teach Sonic he is in fact the groin, it was fantastic to get to see Knuckles and Tails working together individually as well. And after all is said and done, and Sonic releases the emeralds after using them to save his friends, Tails asks Sonic probably the most important question in the entire movie. If he was potentially the most powerful hero in the universe as Super Sonic, why did he let that power go? And Sonic gives probably the most Sonic answer you could expect, saying even he isn't worthy to hold on to that sort of power permanently, and that he still has some growing up to do. And this is where movie Sonic and the established character become one for me. There's a big theme of family in this movie, not just between Tom, Maddie and Sonic as parents and child, but also includes Tails and Knuckles as brothers. Tom said early on how Sonic needed his wingman, and while I did find this really on the nose and cheesy at first, watching how it all slotted together so naturally and how well Team Sonic was handled, I've come round to it. It's nice for such a simple message to be done so well, and watching the baseball sequence at the end felt all the more wholesome for it. Sonic was never meant to be a solo hero, and this movie gets that. I really like Tails in this movie. Whoops, spoiler alert, but I'm sorry. Most of the criticisms I've seen for him center heavily around either how he was introduced, or that he didn't get as much screen time or development as some people would have liked. And really, I'm just not sure what people were expecting. Tails was far more important in every conceivable way in this movie when compared to his original introduction. And here he shares his debut with another huge personality from the series. His character was on point, and to my eyes, seemed accurate to all his established character traits. A shy, helpful, kind-hearted genius who idolizes Sonic? Yeah, seems just about right to me. Tails is actually introduced in this movie as Sonic's savior, carrying out a GTA-style hit-and-run on Knuckles, sending him flying through the garden shed. A bit different from just following Sonic around until being taken under his wing. Similar to the games, Tails acts as the brains of the duo, filling Sonic, and by proxy the audience, in on everything that's happening, and pointing him in the right direction. But by trying to turn Knuckles into roadkill and actually saving Sonic, he's already gotten more meaningfully involved than in most of the mainline games for the past 15 years. After filling Sonic in on everything and informing him of the Master Emerald, Tails is actually ready to take a step back to let Sonic do his thing. And even when invited along, he's actually reluctant to go into the field. But with some encouragement from Sonic and an unbreakable promise between brothers, they set off together to stop Robotnik. Oh, like they did that time. When the pair go to Siberia in their quest for the Master Emerald, the dance scene that ensued was, pretty painful.
Oh, that just kept going, huh?
The scene was clearly intended to help portray a bond forming between Sonic and Tails. And while I understand what it was trying to do, there honestly had to be a better way to go about it. We do, however, get some great backstory for him on either side of it. Tails picked up Sonic's energy the night he caused the blackout on the baseball field, watching in awe as he went on to take down Robotnik and save Green Hills. Labeled as a freak and bullied over his two tails on his homeworld, Tails found great solace in seeing Sonic, someone who is also different, finding acceptance and becoming a great hero. And after learning Knuckles was now after him, he couldn't just sit by and watch, and set out to find Sonic and warn him. For me, this was all handled really well. Everything is changed up just enough to suit the movie universe, but still always remains faithful to the source material. Tails is successfully made a sympathetic character. Everyone loves rooting for the underdog, and I was now fully invested in Tails, as is Sonic. You can see the connection between these two growing, and he starts to care a great deal for Tails, as well as feeling personally responsible for him. The middle of the movie is probably where Tails suffers most, as he kind of disappears for a while. After getting hurt in a missile attack by Robotnik while helping Sonic, he's forced out of the action for a bit by his injuries. For now, Maddie and Rachel probably get more use out of Tails' gadgets than he does, but at least it still showcases his intelligence and engineering skills. It's in the final battle that Tails really comes into his own though. Socially, he slots in perfectly between Sonic and Knuckles, acting as a kind of social buffer between these two strong-minded personalities, serving as the brains of the operation, but also diving headfirst into the action. Using his mad skills and insane gadgets to help give him an edge, he turns the Tornado into a warplane, creates holograms of himself to fool Robotnik, and takes down loads of his drones like freaking Hawkeye with his laser pistol. Tails embodies everything that's great about the Team Sonic spirit, and every interaction he has with Sonic and Knuckles during the final battle put a big stupid grin on my face. He's important to the plot, a crucial member of the team, and faithful to his earlier characterizations in the game universe. A kind-hearted, super intelligent Sonic fanboy. For me, Tails' character still carries that all-important message of his game counterpart, that you should always believe in yourself and embrace who you are, shrugging off the label of freak from the bullies on his homeworld to travel across the galaxy and help his hero. And I would take this portrayal any day of the week over the eye-watering garbage that is the current portrayal of him in the games. As for my boy Knuckles, he was probably the character I was most worried about going in. Tails is doing alright by Sonic series standards. He at least gets to show up in pretty much every game, even if it is usually an empty, soulless appearance. But Big Chuck's? Not so much. So when we think about the characteristics we'd be looking for here, if we wanted to see a movie depiction of Knuckles from when he was at his best, Knuckles is stoic, laser focused, has a huge sense of honor, and is socially naive to his own detriment. He is not dumb, a very important distinction. And these were the traits I was watching out for in this movie. As first impressions go, Knuckles climbs, he glides, he demolishes, he Hulk smashes Sonic. I mean, there nearly couldn't be a more faithful adaptation of his original Sonic 3 and Knuckles debut. Trained from birth in all forms of lethal combat, you get the impression right away that this guy's a freaking badass. After being left alone from early childhood, Knuckles was forced to find his own way in the world, and now seeks revenge on those he blames for wiping out his clan, while relentlessly questing to find the Master Emerald to bring order and honor to the home of his people. For me, this nicely checks all the lore boxes.
Different, but not really.
Knuckles is again tricked? Nah, you see, tricked is actually the wrong word here, at least at first. The relationship between Knuckles and Robotnik actually starts out as mutually beneficial, simply a means to an end. Knuckles needs to find Sonic, and Robotnik needs to get back to Earth. For Knuckles, their agreement didn't amount to anything more than that, and he certainly didn't need to be tricked into fighting Sonic. Thanks to his association with Longclaw, Knuckles already wanted him dead. It was only when Knuckles made mention of the Master Emerald, and incorrectly assumed Sonic was already aware of it, that Robotnik decided to actually trick Knuckles, convincing him to form an alliance to find the Master Emerald before Sonic does. An alliance Knuckles takes as a promise, convinced of Robotnik's commitment, without really stopping to wonder what's in it for him. Again, social ineptitude, not stupidity. Knuckles is not the witless brawn to Robotnik's brain. I never got that impression here. He is a trusting warrior who makes the mistake of assuming everyone else abides by the same strict code of honor he does, genuinely believing he and Robotnik have a trusted alliance. He clearly knows Robotnik is an unsavory character, openly calling him out as dishonorable for what he sees as abandoning Agent Stone at the cafe, and often looking on with obvious apprehension at how he conducts himself in battle. He just makes the mistake of thinking their alliance will hold strong regardless. From the way Robotnik not so subtly looks down his nose at him all throughout the movie, you can tell he clearly thinks he has this truculent space bumpkin pegged, knowing exactly how to manipulate him. And while he writes Knuckles off as simple-minded space trash, just like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, he also vastly underestimates him. Right up until their fight for the compass, Knuckles sees Sonic as an unworthy rival for the Master Emerald. After training his whole life for this, he now has to put up with this mouthy, overconfident fool who has no discipline, takes nothing seriously, and keeps getting in his way. But after this battle, you can see the doubt begin to grow inside Knuckles. He actually begins to relate to Sonic through their shared loss, with both of them given the "you will get your moment" speech by their parents. And I'm sorry, Knuckles as a kid? How friggin' cute is he? Hey, I'm manly, I swear. You could show me a million pictures of cute human babies, and I honestly wouldn't give a shit. But cute little mutant humanoid echidnas?
Now you speak my language.
Knuckles is taken aback by Sonic choosing to abandon the compass to help Tails, showing that, like in his original debut, actions speak louder for Knuckles than words. And when Robotnik calls this a weakness, Knuckles doesn't seem so sure. Like his character in the games when he was at his best, Knuckles wears his emotions on his sleeves in this movie, taking the meaning behind what people say as well as their actions very seriously. He is loyal, he is brave, he is trusting, and he genuinely sees Robotnik as a friend, a trusted ally helping him carry out his duty just as he promised. And while nothing will ever surpass my bias for the Sonic 3 and Knuckles telling of this story, it was still pretty hard to watch Knuckles say that he had trusted Robotnik and that he thought they were friends, as he ruthlessly mocks him before stealing the Master Emerald. I don't know, something about finally having words put to this scene, a scene that was such a huge part of my childhood, was very special, and probably made it a lot more important for me than most other people. Knuckles is very successfully switched to a sympathetic character, and a lot of what I personally felt for him in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and what I believe the story of that game wanted you to feel for him, was translated perfectly into this movie. The beach scene that follows is really wholesome, with Knuckles saying he saved Sonic because, well, Sonic saved him first, even though he didn't understand the tactical advantage it gave him, because that is the code of honor Knuckles abides by. While chatting, the two begin to relate to each other in their common loss, and discover that they both actually share a lot of the same values. And when Knuckles turns to Sonic for guidance on how he moved forward having lost everything, this is the writing and dynamics I miss so much now in the games. Sonic elevating those around him and helping them become their best selves, teaching Knuckles that he feels this way because he's alone, and realizing that he doesn't have to be anymore, he happily joins Sonic and Tails to take down Robotnik. Also, how dare you attack me in my hour of sorrow? It's so ridiculously hilarious, but also, he fully and completely means it. This is what I mean by Knuckles wearing his heart on his sleeve, and this is why this portrayal of him is so good. It conforms to the source material perfectly. It's funny, it's goofy, but it's also heartfelt and endearing. For me, the comedic elements of Knuckles are spot on in this movie, based entirely around his childlike innocence and social naivety. Knuckles has a deep sense of honor and takes everything he sees and hears at face value. And this is where the funny side of his character lies, which is absolutely fine with me. He shouldn't have to be an idiotic hothead or slapstick joker to get a laugh from the audience. There are plenty of laughs just from him being a laser-focused, socially inept warrior in a completely alien environment. And I felt this movie struck a great balance between the serious and humorous sides of his character. But it's when he interacts with Sonic and Tails that Knuckles shines brightest. Be that when he's being heartfelt and wholesome, or hilariously funny. Knuckles and Tails interacting this much was really great to see. It's funny, it's cute, and it's a relationship expansion a lot of people have been asking for. And it does something we haven't seen in the series for a very long time. Shows a budding friendship between these kindred spirits. Tom said he wished Sonic could find his wingman. And to be honest, cheesy foreshadowing or not, this movie does a great job of showing that journey. Team Sonic is formally created at the end of this movie. Or, as Knuckles puts it, his new tribe. So friggin' wholesome, Knuckles, stop it! In this movie, Knuckles ends up a great mix of his early devout Guardian days and his easy breezy laid back Sonic Heroes days. And I really enjoyed this take on the character. Sonic Movie 2 gives the franchise's characters a chance to reboot, with their stories and origins being adapted and retold once again in the movie universe, giving them another chance to evolve into something truly special, as opposed to the flanderized hollow shells we've all become depressingly used to. The character interactions, writing, and importance are all on point for me. And while there are differences, big and small, I still found it to be faithful to the source material while shaping and molding it to work in a movie. And let's face it, compared to pretty much anything we've seen for these characters in the games for the past 10 years, this movie was a breath of fresh air. I hope you all enjoyed my character analysis of the movie versions of Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. If you did, don't forget to drop a like. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Loads of Sonic analysis on here and loads more on the way, so make sure that bell icon is checked to be notified when I upload. I'm also very curious to hear all of your thoughts on the movie characterizations of these characters. What did you like? What didn't you like? And what are you hoping for going into Sonic Movie 3? Be sure to sound off in the comments below. A big thank you for watching. And as always guys, take care.